Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and today it's time to have a little chat about how to format a manuscript for submission. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, something a little bit different today. This will be basically a bit of a chat, bit of a tutorial on how to format a short story manuscript for submission. For any of you who are intending to submit to Trash Tales, the anthology that is being put together by me and Ollie over at Criminolly. The deadline is the 31st of December, so you've got less than a month left. But if you're a little unsure of how to format a manuscript for submission and save it out in the correct way and all that kind of stuff, then this is for you today. So I'm going to jump over to Word in a minute. This will be relevant primarily to Microsoft Word, but all of the stuff that I'm saying is kind of in similar places. It's a similar process in something like Google Docs. So, you know, feel free to use that. It's mainly about, you know, what you should be seeing at the end of it, what the final manuscript should look like. But I will jump over to that in a moment. I will preface this though by saying, if you've already submitted to Trash Tales and your manuscript didn't look exactly like this, if you've missed anything off or you've submitted as a Word doc instead of a PDF, things like that, because we are going to be exporting this out to PDF at the end, don't worry at all. Your submission is fine as long as it's readable, basically, and I've checked as things have come in, as long as they're readable and we've got the correct information, personal information, things like that on them, we really don't mind. You know, we've got the submission guidelines, which we've said, you know, what needs to go on it and PDF, but we're not going to be too pernickety about stuff. Anybody who's missed off any information, I've contacted and got that information separately. So really don't worry about it if you've submitted already and it doesn't look exactly like what I'm going to show you today. For the purpose of Trash Tales, that's fine. But going forward, if you were to submit to other anthologies, other publishers, etc., then, you know, this might be more what they'd be looking for. As with everything, always stick to what you are asked for in the submission guidelines. This is kind of quite standard, what we've asked for. But some publishers might have other, you know, requirements on it, other stipulations. So do make sure that you read the submission guidelines carefully, and anything that is specified, make sure that your manuscript matches up with that. So with that said, let's jump into Word, where I've got a document ready, and we'll have a look at what we need to do to make this ready for submission. So let's have a little look at something then, and go through this together on what you need to add and how you need to format this to make it ready for submission. This is a story that I have already submitted and stuff, but I've edited it, so back to what it looks like when I first wrote it, basically. So we can go through this together and add stuff in. So the first thing to check is margins. This we can do by going to layout and margins. This is Word 365, by the way. You may have a different version of Word, so it may look a little different, but you'll be able to find this somewhere. Margins is here in mine. We can see that it's already set at margins all round of 2.54 centimeters, which is an inch. So that's what we ask for. That's what most publishers will ask for, is inch margins all the way around. If you want to go into the kind of traditional dialog box, go to custom margins, and you'll end up in the page setup box. This might be under your file menu in older versions of Word, and I think in Google Docs this is under your file menu. So in here we can see the margins there. We can edit the margins. You know, our paper is portraits rather than landscape, all that kind of stuff. We've also got the paper size that we can specify. I'm obviously in A4 because I'm in the UK, but if you're in the US, you probably want to be in letter size, but all of this stays the same. The margins, inch margins, stays the same. And then in layout, we've also got headers and footers, and you can tick here different first page, and we will want that for when we come to put headers and footers in. But that is pretty much it in terms of your margins and your headers footers set up. So we can click OK on that. So when we've got our margins set correctly to an inch. Font is the other one. This is already in Times New Roman. But if I go to home, my home tab, we can see here it says Times New Roman, and it should be 12 point. This is what we've specified, this is what a lot of publishers will specify, but check your submission guidelines. They may ask for Courier, they may ask for Arial, whatever they ask for, make sure your font matches. So we've got that set up. The other thing to set up is the line spacing. At the moment this is just single line spaced, but we want it to be double line spaced. So I will select all with Control A or Command A if you're on a Mac, and then we'll go up here to line and paragraph spacing, and on the drop down we'll go for 2.0, so that's double line spaced. And so that is how your story should look. That's what your body text should look like. It's also common for publishers to ask for a first line indent on paragraphs. I have one set up here. I can double click on the little tabs at the top in the ruler, and it'll bring up the paragraph box. Again, if you don't have that ability, then look for paragraph settings within your menus, and it will be under indentation, first line under special. There's a drop down here, and I've got it set to 0.76 centimeters. Publishers might ask for a specific measurement. They might ask for a certain number of characters. 0.76 centimeters is about equivalent to 5 characters indent, and I think that's probably a fair setting, so that's what I tend to set it to. Also in here is where you can find the option for double line spacing if you can't find it on your toolbars up the top there. So we've got all of that set correctly. The alignment is left, should be left justified. So we can click OK there, which means we've got a ragged right edge there. So all our indents, all our margins, all our line spacing, etc. is now set. So we can start adding in the extra information that we need for submission. So first thing I'll do is just click at the top line and just enter or return down a couple of lines and then go back up to the top of the page. Now the first thing to enter in is your personal information. So first of all, it will be your legal name, not the one you want it necessarily to be published under. That will come later. So not a pseudonym, this is your legal name. Then we want your street address. This is not my real street address, funny enough. And then your town or your city and your county or your state, and your postal code, or your zip code. So your full postal address, basically. Then we want an email address that the publishers can contact you on to tell you, hopefully, yay, your story's been accepted. And so this is, will probably be the one that you use to submit the story to the publisher in the first place. Most things are submittable by email these days. So whatever your email address is. And then you want your telephone number, the telephone number that is the best one to contact you on. So that's all the personal information that we need at the top there. The other thing we need is the word count, so that as soon as the publisher opens up the story, the manuscript, they can see how many words it is. So I'm just going to tab across a little bit and put about 3,800 words. over this side here, and kind of get it as far as over to the right as you can. You can keep your word count to the nearest 100 words. That's not a problem. We don't need it to be absolutely specific to the word. Although I would say, you know, you can't put, or you shouldn't put about 5,000 words and have it over the 5,000 words. If the word limit is 5,000, it should be under 5,000. So if it's 4,976, you can put about 5,000 words. But if it's 5,017 words, for instance, then you need to cut those 17 words off first. If your word limit is absolutely 5,000. Okay, so that's all the information we need there. Now we can put in our title. So I'm going to go down another couple of lines, and I'm going to switch to centered justification. And then in all capitals, we're going to put in our title. So "That's Not a Spider" is the title of this story. Return again, and then by, and then another line down, and then the name that you want this published under. So this might be the same as your legal name, but it might also be a pseudonym. And my pseudonym is AJ Pryor. So that's where mine goes. So that now is perfectly usable. I would, however, say it's good practice to change this top section to single line space, like that. And then just bring your title down about a third of the page, third to half of a page, just because otherwise that takes up quite a lot of space. So that's how it should look. You can, if you want to, just highlight all of this and get rid of that first line indent for those sections, just so that this lines up nicely with the left justified edge, but that is by no means obligatory. Certainly not for trash tales anyway. As long as we've got the information, that's what we're bothered about. So that is now how it should look, the first page with all of our information in, our title, our byline, and then our story starts. So let's have a little look further down then and see what else needs to go in. So I will go back to the page width view. So yeah, so that's what it looks like there. So we're going to scroll down. The next thing we want to put in is the header. Now I find Word, for some reason, this version of Word messes me around when I try and put it in when I'm on the first page, so this page. So I always go down to the second page, just click in at the beginning of the first line and then insert the header, because otherwise it does weird things for me. So to insert the header, we want insert and then header over here. And I just use the blank 3 columns setup. It's just, I find it's the quickest way to do it. But you could put in edit header if you wanted to. So I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to give me this, and it's going to tell me that I'm in the header, and it's going to grey out the rest of the text for the time being. So in the left hand side, I'm going to write the title of the story again. Then the middle can be deleted, we don't need that. And then on the left there, I'm going to put in my the name I want the story published under, / and then we're going to add in the page numbers. So I'm going to come over to page number. I'm going to say current position, plain number, and it's going to put in 2 because we are on page 2. I'm also going to check that this box here is ticked, different first page, because we don't want this to show up on the first page. We only need this on the second, third, fourth, etc., down to the end of the story. What I also will do with this is highlight it all and then change it to Times New Roman, 0.12. And that's it. And then we can click away, double click away from this, and that is our header then. So this now should be on every page but the first one. So yep, it's not on the first, don't need it on the first, and then the second one and the third one with the third page, etc. So that's, you know, that's worked there. And the reason for this is because if we print this out as the publisher, the editor, to read it, and we've got lots of other stories printed out at the same time, and you drop stuff, you move stuff around, pages might get separated accidentally, this header will let us see immediately which story it belongs to and which page number it is for that story, so we can keep everything in order really nicely. That's a really important thing to put on, because you never know whether the person reading it is going to be reading it on screen or whether they're going to be printing it out, and you don't want a page of your story to go missing. So yes, we've got our header done on that. Right, other things then. Dialogue, a quick note about dialogue. We've got some dialogue here and here. So, you know, it would be the usual, you know, kind of open speech, write your bit of dialogue, close speech, and then your dialogue attribution. How you write your dialogue, how you punctuate your dialogue is entirely up to you, whether you use single or double speech conventions. It'll depend on your location, what you've been taught, etc. In terms of submitting for Trash Tales, absolutely do whatever you want with that. Be aware, however, that as the editor, as the copy editor, I will be standardizing all dialogue. I won't standardize spelling across different locations necessarily, but I will be standardizing dialogue and how it's punctuated, how it's laid out. So I'm not sure which one I'll go for yet. I might look at, you know, how much of each we get and kind of go for parity. But you may choose to use single and it might end up being changed to double, but that can happen across any publishers. There is often a house style, and your work will be edited to fit in with that house style. But for the purposes of submission, just make sure that your dialogue is clear, that it's attributed correctly, and that we can understand that it's dialogue. So that's just a note on dialogue. Next thing is section breaks. When I find one, here it is. If you want to put in a section break, so, you know, a point where there is a break between two sort of scenes, if you like, you just need to use a single hash mark for that. That's very standard. Just put a single hash mark in the center of the page, and that will tell the editor and the publisher that you want a section break in there. The other thing which is similar to this is the end note, right down to the end. Here I've just used end. End is fine, it's clear, it's simple, but you could also use 3 hash marks for the end as well. Again, it's just so that if it gets printed out and say your story has an ambiguous ending, or it was right down to the bottom of the page or something, and there isn't anything to denote that this is the end of the story, the publisher might be thinking, is there a page missing? Should there be something else here? And it just removes any kind of ambiguity on that. It makes it a lot easier. So yeah, so as I say, I always use end, but 3 hash marks is also absolutely fine. So we should be good to go with that. Just need to check it through one more time, check for things that we're not happy with. Like personally, I would remove the hyperlink from the email. And you can do that by highlighting it and then right clicking and saying remove hyperlink. Don't feel like you have to do that. It's not obligatory, it's just something that annoys me, like personally on my stuff. I can see that Word has been presumptuous and capitalised the by, and I don't want that, so I'm going to change that to a small b. And I'm going to add in periods after the A and the J of prior, which I forgot to add earlier. So I'm just checking things that look, you know, exactly how I want them to look. Again, go through, just make sure that you've, you know, not got anything that's jumping out at you, and then you're ready to save. So obviously save it as a Word document first, if you haven't already, or save it as another version. But then if, like for Trash Tales, we've asked you to send us a PDF, then you need to save out to PDF, obviously. So to do this, you're going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to just keep it in this file here. I'm going to select PDF from the file type box there, and then I'm going to save the file to something that the publisher can quite easily tell what it is and who wrote it. So it's going to be the name of my story underscore prior underscore, and I'm just going to put in a date of December 2024 as well. And then I'll save that out. I'd obviously already done this once in a practice run, so I'm going to say yes, okay, that's fine, and it's going to open it up in Acrobat for me, but you can obviously open it yourself if it doesn't, and then just run through it visually just to make sure that it's not adding anything weird in, or done anything weird on the conversion. Just making sure that everything's all right, and then once you're done, you're ready to send that off. So that is it, basically. This is what it should look like when you finished it, and get it sent off, get it over to us, or to whichever publisher you are sending it to. And that is pretty much everything you need to know, certainly for your Trash Tales submission. If you still have any questions, then drop them in the comments below, or do feel free to email us at trashtalesanthology@gmail.com. We are happy to answer any questions at all about submissions, about the project, all that kind of stuff. If you're still stuck on anything and still unsure of anything, then just drop us a line. We're more than happy to help. We know that for a lot of folks, this is going to be your first time submitting. And there are going to be questions, there are going to be things you're unsure of. So don't hesitate to get in touch if you've got any questions at all. And again, as I'll say it again, if you've already submitted and your submission didn't look exactly like what I've gone through today, don't worry, really don't worry about it. Basically, if there's anything that is a major issue, I will have got in touch with you anyway, just to ask you to tweak something. But your submission is absolutely, categorically not going to be thrown out because it's not in Times New Roman, or it's not double-line spaced, or something like that. Yeah, don't worry about it. We're just really happy that lots of folks want to submit. And it's the quality of the writing at the end of the day that we will be looking at, and not how accomplished you are at formatting a manuscript at this stage. So that will do from me today then, I think. I do hope this has been helpful for any of you that might be a bit unsure on formatting your manuscript. So yes, so if you are still planning on submitting, don't forget you've got less than a month now, December 31st at midnight, your time, whatever your time zone is. That is your deadline. I will give another little reminder about a week before, but we are looking forward to reading all of the submissions. We've had quite a lot in already, and we're looking forward to all of the ones that are still to come. Ollie and I will start reading them probably over Christmas, just to get a little bit ahead of ourselves before the deadline finishes, because as I say, we've had quite a few. But yeah, we are very, very excited to read everyone's. So get them in. So yes, that will do from me today. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do drop your thoughts, questions, comments below. I will be back on Friday with something else for you, so I do hope you'll join me for that then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.